The red lights flashed across the bridge of the command ship as Admiral Jake Morrison watched Mars colony burn. Through the main screen, he could see the alien ships moving like deadly shadows against the orange sky. The Zephyrians had come with hundreds of warships, their plasma cannons turning human settlements into glass and ash. "Sir, we have maybe 10 minutes before they break through our last defense line," said Commander Amy Brooks. Her voice was calm, but Jake could see the fear in her eyes. They had fought the Zephyrians for 3 years now, and humanity was losing badly. Jake pressed his hands against the cold metal rail. He was 52 years old and had spent his whole life in space. He had won battles against pirates and rebels. But the Zephyrians were different. They were stronger, faster, and their technology was far beyond anything humans had ever seen. "How many people are still down there?" he asked. "About 50,000 civilians, sir. The transport ships can't take them all." Jake closed his eyes for a moment. 50,000 people, men, women, children, all depending on him to save them. But his fleet was down to 12 ships, and half of those were damaged. The Zephyrians had 47 warships in perfect condition. "Admiral, incoming message from Earth Command," said the communications officer. The screen changed to show a woman with short gray hair and tired eyes. "General Patricia Wells, the head of Earth's military forces. Jake, I'm sorry. We have to pull back. Mars is lost." "We still have civilians down there," Jake said. "I know. But if we lose your fleet, Earth will be next. You need to retreat now." Jake felt anger rise in his chest. "Since when do we abandon our people?" "Since we realized we're fighting a war we can't win with normal weapons." Patricia's voice became very quiet. "Jake, there's something else. Dr. Lisa Grant has been working on something. Something that might change everything." "What kind of something?" "A ship. A ship that can't be destroyed. The science team thinks they can build it, but they need time. Your job is to buy them that time." Jake looked at the screen showing Mars Colony. The alien ships were getting closer. "How much time?" 6 months. Maybe 8 if we're lucky." "Ma'am, with respect, we don't have 6 months. We might not have 6 hours." Patricia nodded slowly. "I know. But Dr. Grant says if this works, it could end the war. One ship that could take on their entire fleet." Jake had heard crazy ideas before, but this sounded impossible. "What makes her think one ship could do that?" "Something called quantum locking. I don't understand it, but she says it would make the ship exist in multiple dimensions at once. Enemy weapons couldn't touch it, but it could hit them." The bridge shook as a Zephyrian plasma blast hit their shields. Jake grabbed the rail to steady himself. "Where is Dr. Grant now?" "Titan Station. It's hidden in the asteroid belt." "The Zephyrians don't know about it yet." "Yet?" Jake repeated. "How long before they find it?" "That depends on how long you can keep them busy." Another explosion rocked the ship. Amy Brooks looked at her screens and shook her head. "Sir, the defense line is breaking. We need to go now." Jake looked at the screen one more time. He could see the transport ships trying to escape, carrying as many people as they could. The Zephyrians were shooting at them, but most were getting away. It would have to be enough. "All ships retreat to position Beta 7, he ordered. "We're falling back." The human fleet turned and started moving away from Mars. The Zephyrians followed, but they seemed content to let them go. They had won another victory, taken another. Human world dot as they flew through space. Jake thought about what Patricia had told him. A ship that couldn't be destroyed. It sounded like something from a dream, but Dr. Grant was the smartest person he knew. If anyone could build such a thing, it was her. "Amy, set course for the Jupiter system," he said. "We need to find Dr. Grant." "Sir, shouldn't we regroup with the main fleet?" "The main fleet can't help us now. If there's really a chance to build this supership, we need to protect it. Amy nodded and gave the order. The ships changed course, heading deeper into the solar system. Jake hoped they weren't too late. He hoped Dr. Grant really had found a way to fight back. Behind them, Mars glowed red in the darkness. Another human world was gone, but maybe, just maybe, it would be the last one they lost. The war had taken everything from humanity. Their colonies, their fleets, their hope. But if Dr. Grant was right, if this quantum-locked ship was possible, then maybe they could still win. Jake Morrison had never been a man who believed in miracles. But right now, a miracle was exactly what humanity needed. The Admiral stood alone on the bridge, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, Dr. Grant was, working on humanity's last hope. He just had to make sure she lived long enough to finish it. The real war was just beginning. Dr. Lisa Grant stood in the center of the hidden shipyard, watching thousands of workers build something that should not exist. The USS Leviathan was taking shape around her, but it looked wrong. The hull seemed to shift and change when she wasn't. Looking directly at it, like it was made of liquid metal instead of solid steel. "The quantum field generators are online," said Dr. Alan Pierce, walking up beside her. Alan was her research partner, and the only person who truly understood what they were trying to build. But we're still having problems with the stability matrix. Lisa nodded, her eyes never leaving the ship. "Show me the test results." They walked to the main laboratory, where dozens of scientists worked at computers and strange machines. The air hummed with energy, and Lisa could feel the quantum fields affecting her teeth. 3 months ago, this had all been theory. Now they were trying to make it real. "Yesterday's test destroyed Lab 7, Alan said, pulling up the data on his screen. "We tried to quantum lock a small piece of metal, but it created a feedback loop. The explosion killed 12 people. Lisa felt sick. 12 more names to add to the list of people who had died for this project. What went wrong? The quantum fields collapsed too quickly. We need someone who can sense the changes and adjust the fields in real time. A human computer," Lisa said. "Someone who can feel quantum fluctuations." "Exactly. But we've tested hundreds of people. No one has that kind of sensitivity." Lisa was about to answer when the alarm started blaring. Red lights flashed throughout the station as Admiral Morrison's voice came over the speakers. "All personnel to emergency stations. We have incoming ships." Lisa and Alan ran to the command center, where Admiral Morrison was standing with Captain Nick Hayes and Commander Amy Brooks. On the main screen, they could see 3 Zephyrian scout ships approaching the asteroid belt. "How did they find us?" Lisa asked. "Someone talked," Morrison said grimly. "Or they got lucky. Either way, we have maybe an hour before they call for backup." Captain Hayes stepped forward. Hayes was a big man with gray hair and steady hands. He had volunteered to command the Leviathan when it was finished. "Sir, the ship isn't ready. We don't even have working weapons yet." "Then we'll have to fight them with what we have," Morrison replied. "Amy, get our defense ships ready." Lisa watched the enemy ships getting closer and felt helpless. 3 years of work, humanity's last hope, and it might all be destroyed by 3 alien scouts. "Wait," said a young voice behind them. They turned to see Lieutenant Kate Sullivan, a navigation officer who had arrived yesterday. She was only 26, with blonde hair and bright blue eyes. "I can feel them." "Feel what?" Morrison asked. "The quantum fields. They're everywhere around the ship. I can sense how they move and change." Kate walked closer to the Leviathans. "Control systems. It's like seeing colors that don't have names." Lisa felt her heart start beating faster. "Kate, can you tell when the fields are about to collapse?" "Yes, I think so. They get cold right before they break." Alan grabbed Lisa's arm. "This is it. She's the one we've been looking for." Lisa looked at the young woman who might be humanity's salvation. "Kate, we need you to try something very dangerous. If it works, we might be able to activate the ship's quantum lock system." Kate nodded without hesitation. "What do I need to do?" "Connect your mind to the ship's quantum computer. Let it use your sensitivity to control the fields." "Will it hurt?" Lisa glanced at Alan, then back at Kate. "We don't know. No one has ever tried this before." Kate looked at the approaching enemy ships, then at the half-built Leviathan. "If it can save everyone, I'll do it." They rushed Kate to the quantum interface chamber, a small room filled with strange machines and glowing cables. Lisa's hands shook as she attached the neural connectors to Kate's head. "Remember," Lisa said, "you're not trying to control the quantum fields. You're just helping the computer understand them." Kate closed her eyes as the machine activated. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Leviathan began to glow with a soft blue light. "Quantum field stability at 60%, Alan reported. 70%? 80%. The ship's hull started to shimmer, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Lisa held her breath as the readings climbed higher. 95%. 98%. "We have full quantum lock." The Leviathan seemed to flicker in and out of existence. One moment it was there, solid and real. The next moment it was like looking at a ghost. "Kate, how do you feel?" Lisa asked. Kate's eyes were still closed, but she was smiling. "I can see everything. The ship is in 3 dimensions at once. It's beautiful." On the main screen, the Zephyrian ships had reached the asteroid belt. They were scanning for the hidden base, getting closer to finding it. "Captain Hayes," Morrison said, "take the Leviathan out. See if this thing really works." Hayes nodded and ran toward the ship. Even though it wasn't completely finished, they had installed basic engines and 1 plasma cannon. If the quantum lock worked, it would be enough. Lisa watched as the Leviathan moved out of the shipyard. The ship looked strange in space, like it was made of starlight instead of metal. The Zephyrian ships detected it immediately and turned to attack. The aliens fired their plasma cannons, bright green beams that had destroyed hundreds of human ships. But when the beams hit the Leviathan, they passed right through it like it wasn't there. "It's working," Lisa whispered. "The quantum lock is actually working." The Leviathan fired back, its single plasma cannon punching through the lead Zephyrian ship like paper. The alien vessel exploded in a ball of fire. The other 2 enemy ships kept firing, but their weapons couldn't touch the Leviathan. Hayes maneuvered, the ship with impossible grace, appearing and disappearing as he moved between dimensions. Within minutes, all 3 Zephyrian ships were destroyed. Lisa felt tears running down her face. After 3 years of defeat, humanity had finally built something that could fight back. The quantum-locked ship was real, and it was invincible. "Kate," she said, "you did it. You saved us all." Kate opened her eyes and smiled. "No, Dr. Grant. We all did it together." Lisa looked at the Leviathan floating in space, shimmering between dimensions. It was beautiful and terrible, humanity's answer to an impossible war. Now they just had to finish building it before the Zephyrians came back. In force. The Zephyrian fleet hung in space like a dark cloud, 47 warships arranged in perfect battle formation. Admiral Zixtal stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying the approaching human vessel with cold, calculating eyes. The Leviathan looked small compared to his massive dreadnoughts, but intelligence reports claimed it had destroyed 3 scout ships without taking any damage. "How is that possible?" asked his second-in-command, Commander Valken. "Our plasma cannons can destroy any human ship." Zixtal's forearms moved in what humans would recognize as a shrug. We will find out soon enough. All ships, prepare to fire. 3 light years away, Captain Nick Hayes sat in the command chair of the Leviathan, watching the enemy fleet on his main screen. The ship felt different now that it was complete. The quantum lock system hummed through every wall and deck, making the vessel exist in multiple dimensions at once. Kate, how are the quantum fields? He asked. Lieutenant Kate Sullivan sat at her special station, eyes closed, her mind connected to the ship's quantum computer. Stable at 98%, sir. I can feel the enemy ships like shadows in the distance. Commander Alana Ross, the weapons officer, checked her instruments. All quantum cannons are ready, Captain. The targeting computer is locked onto their flagship. Hayes nodded. The Leviathan had 12 quantum cannons, weapons that could fire through solid matter by existing in multiple dimensions. Traditional shields were useless against them. All stations, prepare for combat, Hayes announced. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every human being in the galaxy. The Leviathan accelerated toward the enemy fleet, its hull shimmering like liquid starlight. To the Zephyrians, it looked like a ghost ship, barely visible against the black of space. Sir, Kate said suddenly, they're about to fire. 47 alien ships opened fire at once, filling space with deadly green plasma. The beams struck the Leviathan from every direction, enough firepower to destroy a small moon. But the weapons passed through the ship like it wasn't there. The Leviathan's quantum lock made it exist in a different dimension, untouchable by normal matter. Elena, return fire. Hayes ordered. The Leviathan's quantum cannons fired 12 beams of pure energy that ignored the Zephyrian shields completely. The beams struck the enemy flagship from the inside, tearing through its hull like paper. Admiral Zixtel watched in horror as his most powerful ship exploded around him. The human weapon had fired through his shields, through his armor, as if they didn't exist. How? He whispered, just before the explosion consumed him. The Leviathan continued its attack, moving through the enemy formation like a deadly phantom. The Zephyrians kept firing, but their weapons couldn't touch the human ship. One by one, their vessels were destroyed by the quantum cannons. Captain, Elena reported, enemy fleet is breaking formation. They're trying to retreat. Hayes felt no satisfaction in the victory. These aliens had destroyed human worlds, killed millions of innocent people. But seeing them run in terror made him wonder if humanity was becoming something they shouldn't be. Let them go, he said. We've made our point. But the Zephyrians weren't finished. Over the next 3 months, the Leviathan appeared throughout their space, striking without warning and disappearing before reinforcements could arrive. The ship could quantum jump instantly from one star system to another, making it impossible to track or predict. The alien empire began to fracture. Worlds that had been loyal for centuries started to rebel, believing their military could no longer protect them. The Zephyrian High Council met in emergency session, trying to find a way to fight an enemy that couldn't be hurt. We need to study the humans, said Counselor Veltar, one of the few voices of reason left. Find out what makes them different, why they never give up. But the military leaders wanted revenge. They gathered their remaining fleets, over 300 ships, and waited for the Leviathan to appear again. They didn't have to wait long. The human ship materialized in the heart of the Zephyrian capital system, appearing directly above their home world. Captain Hayes looked at the massive fleet surrounding him and felt the weight of history. Kate, can you handle this many ships? He asked. Kate's eyes were still closed, but she was smiling. I can feel all of them, Captain. They're scared. They should be, Elena said grimly. All weapons ready, sir? Hayes took a deep breath. This would be the largest space battle in galactic history. One human ship against an entire alien fleet. All ships, this is Captain Hayes of the USS Leviathan. He broadcast on all frequencies. You have one chance to surrender. Lay down your weapons and withdraw from human space. The response came in the form of concentrated fire from 300 warships. Space lit up like a star as every weapon in the Zephyrian fleet fired at once. The Leviathan sat in the center of the storm, untouched. The quantum lock held perfectly, making the ship exist in a dimension where the enemy weapons couldn't reach. It docked. Then the Leviathan did something impossible. It began to multiply. Kate had learned to use the quantum fields in new ways, making the ship exist in multiple locations at the same time. Suddenly there were dozens of Leviathans, each one real, each one firing quantum cannons at the terrified alien fleet. "This is impossible," whispered the Zephyrian fleet commander. "One ship cannot be in 50 places at once." But it was happening. The quantum-locked ship existed in multiple dimensions, allowing it to attack from every direction simultaneously. The Zephyrian fleet, designed to fight normal battles with normal physics, had no defense against such an attack. In less than an hour, the greatest fleet in galactic history was reduced to scrap metal. The Leviathan had destroyed over 300 ships without taking a single hit. As the last enemy vessel exploded, Hayes felt a chill run down his spine. The power at his command was beyond anything humanity had ever wielded. With this ship, they could conquer the galaxy, but that wasn't who they were. That wasn't who they wanted to be. "Kate, take us home," he said quietly. "I think we've done enough damage." The Leviathan flickered once and vanished, leaving behind only the wreckage of the once mighty Zephyrian fleet. The war was almost over, but the hardest part was yet to come. What would humanity do with a weapon that could destroy entire civilizations? And more importantly, what would it do to humanity itself? High Counselor Veltar stood in the ruins of the Zephyrian military headquarters, watching the emergency reports flood in from across the Empire. In just 1 week, the human ship had appeared in 12 different star systems, destroying defense, fleets, and military bases without warning. The Leviathan was everywhere and nowhere, striking like a vengeful god. "How many ships have we lost?" she asked her aide, a young officer whose hands shook as he read the reports. "Over 800, Counselor. The humans are not just destroying our fleets. They are targeting our supply lines, our communication networks, everything that holds our empire together." Veltar's tail twitched with frustration. She had tried to warn the military council that humans were different from other species they had conquered. Humans didn't surrender when they were losing. They got angry. "Any word from the outer colonies?" she asked. 17 systems have declared independence. They say if we cannot protect them, they will find their own way to make peace with the humans. Veltar closed her eyes. The empire her people had built over 1,000 years was falling apart in a matter of weeks. All because of one ship. On the Leviathan, Captain Nick Hayes sat in his ready room, staring at the reports from Dr. Ben Walsh, the ship's xenobiologist. They had captured several Zephyrian prisoners during their raids, and Walsh had been studying them. "The interesting thing, Captain," Walsh explained, "is that they're not naturally aggressive. The Zephyrians we've captured seem almost relieved to be away from their military." Hayes frowned. "What do you mean?" "Their society is based on rigid hierarchy. The military caste rules everything, and they've been at war for so long that they've forgotten how to live in peace. Some of the prisoners have asked if they can stay with us. They want to defect. More than that, they want to help us end the war. They're tired of fighting, tired of conquering worlds just to prove their strength." Hayes walked to the window of his ready room, looking out at the stars. For 3 months, the Leviathan had been unstoppable. They had destroyed entire fleets, crippled the alien empire, and struck fear into the hearts of their enemies. But Hayes was starting to wonder if they were becoming the very thing they had fought against. Doctor, what do you think would happen if we just stopped? If we offered them peace instead of destruction? Walsh adjusted his glasses. Honestly, Captain, I think most of them would accept it. The military leadership might refuse, but the common people are suffering. They want the war to end as much as we do. Before Hayes could respond, the ship's alarms began to sound. Lieutenant Kate Sullivan's voice came over the intercom. Captain, to the bridge. We have a situation. Hayes ran to the bridge, where he found his crew staring at the main screen in shock. Floating in space ahead of them was the largest structure he had ever seen. It looked like a metallic moon, covered in weapons and shields. What is that thing? He asked. Commander Elena Ross checked her instruments. It's a fortress, sir. Artificial gravity, population of about 10 million, and it's moving toward Earth. Kate, her eyes still closed as she monitored the quantum fields, spoke in a worried voice. Captain, there's something else. The fortress is surrounded by a new kind of shield. I can't read it properly, but it feels wrong. Hayes felt a chill run down his spine. How wrong? It's like they're trying to copy our quantum technology, but they don't understand it. The fields are unstable, dangerous. On the screen, the massive fortress continued moving through space, heading for the heart of human territory. Hayes realized this was the Zephyrians' final gambit. If they couldn't defeat the Leviathan, they would destroy Earth itself. All hands. Battle stations, Hayes ordered. Elena, prepare all quantum cannons. Kate, can you get us past their shields? Kate opened her eyes for the first time in hours, and Hayes saw fear there. I can try, Captain. But if their quantum fields collapse while we're inside them, it could destroy both ships. And if we don't try, they'll destroy Earth. The Leviathan approached the fortress, its hull shimmering as it shifted between dimensions. The alien structure was massive, easily 100 times larger than the human ship. But size didn't matter when you could exist in multiple dimensions at once. Quantum cannons ready, Elena reported, targeting their main power core. Kate, take us in. The Leviathan slipped through the fortress's shields like a ghost, its quantum lock allowing it to exist in spaces where normal matter couldn't go. But as they got closer to the core, Kate suddenly screamed. Captain, their quantum fields are collapsing. The whole fortress is going to explode. Hayes felt time slow down around him. If the fortress exploded, the blast would be visible from Earth. But if they tried to escape now, the fortress would continue toward human space and destroy everything in its path. Elena, fire everything we have at their core. Now, the Leviathans. Quantum cannons fired at full power, 12 beams of pure energy striking the fortress's heart. The alien structure began to tear itself apart, its unstable quantum fields creating a feedback loop that spread through every level. Kate, get us out of here. Kate's mind reached out through the quantum fields, searching for a path to safety. But the collapsing fortress was creating a quantum storm, a region of space where the normal laws of physics no longer applied. I can't find a way out, Captain. The quantum fields are too chaotic. Hayes made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. All hands, brace for impact. We're going to ride this explosion out. The fortress exploded in a blaze of light that could be seen from 3 star systems away. The Leviathan, protected by its quantum lock, survived the blast, but was thrown across space like a leaf in a hurricane. When the storm finally ended, they found themselves in orbit around a small planet on the edge of Zephyrian space. The ship's hull was damaged, but the quantum lock had held. Damage report, Hayes said weakly. Hull breach on Deck 7, but we're alive, Commander Steve Parker reported. Captain, we're getting a transmission from the planet below. The main screen showed High Counselor Veltar, but she looked different now. Older, more tired. "Captain Hayes, I believe we need to talk." Hayes straightened in his chair. "I'm listening." "The fortress was our last weapon. Our military leaders built it in secret, against the wishes of the civilian government. When you destroyed it, you saved not just your own people, but ours as well." "What do you mean?" "The fortress was designed to destroy Earth, but the quantum fields were unstable. If you hadn't stopped it, the explosion would have torn a hole in space itself. Both our civilizations would have been destroyed." Hayes felt a weight lift from his shoulders. "Are you saying you want to surrender?" "I'm saying we want to make peace, Captain. Real peace. The war has gone on too long, and too many people have died. Both of our peoples deserve better." Hayes looked around his bridge at the crew who had followed him through impossible battles. They had built a weapon that could destroy civilizations, but maybe, just maybe, they could use it to build something better. "Counselor Veltar, I think it's time we talked face to face." For the first time in 4 years, representatives of both species would meet not as enemies, but as people who wanted the killing to stop. The war was ending, but the hard work of building peace was just beginning. The meeting room on the neutral station was quiet, except for the gentle hum of life support systems. Ambassador Claire Mitchell sat across from High Counselor Veltar, watching the alien leaders sign the formal surrender documents with her four-fingered hand. After 4 years of war, it was finally over. The Zephyrian Empire formally surrenders all claim to human space, Veltar said, her translator giving her words a mechanical quality. "We will withdraw our forces to pre-war boundaries and pay compensation for the damage we have caused." Claire nodded, but she felt no joy in the victory. Too many people had died on both sides. "What about your military leadership? The ones who started this war? Emperor Kothron and his war council will face trial by our own people. They led us into a war we could never win, and our society will not forgive them for it." Through the window, Claire could see the USS Leviathan floating in space like a metal ghost. The ship that had won the war for humanity, but at what cost? She had heard the reports from the crew. Captain Hayes was different now, quieter, more troubled. The weight of commanding such terrible power had changed him. "There is one more thing," Veltar said. "My people would like to request protection from the Terran Defense Force. There are other species in the galaxy, some even more aggressive than we were. Your quantum technology could protect us all." Claire had expected this. Word of the Leviathan's power had spread throughout the galaxy. Every alien civilization wanted humanity as either an ally or was too afraid to oppose them. "I'll need to discuss this with Admiral Morrison," Claire said, "but I think we can arrange something." On the Leviathan, Captain Nick Hayes stood in the ship's observation deck, looking out at the stars. The war was over, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something had been lost in the fighting. The weapon they had built was too powerful, too dangerous. What would happen to humanity now that they possessed such strength? "Captain," said a voice behind him. He turned to see Dr. Lisa Grant, the woman who had made it all possible. "How are you holding up?" "I'm fine, Doctor. Just thinking about what comes next." Lisa joined him at the window. "A quantum lock technology is being installed on 20 new ships. Admiral Morrison wants to create a defense fleet that can protect the entire galaxy. And you're okay with that?" Lisa was quiet for a long moment. "I created this technology to save humanity. I never thought about what would happen after we won." Hayes nodded. "I've been thinking about that too. We have the power to rule the galaxy now, but that's not who we are. At least, I hope it's not." "Captain, Tony Martinez thinks we should use the technology to explore instead of fight," Lisa said. "He wants to take a quantum-locked ship to the other side of the galaxy. see what's out there. And what do you think? I think he's right. We've proven we can win wars. Now we need to prove we can build peace. The conversation was interrupted by Lieutenant Kate Sullivan, who had been listening from the doorway. Captain, Admiral Morrison is requesting all senior staff in the briefing room. He says it's important. They found Admiral Morrison standing in front of a large holographic display showing the entire galaxy. Different colored dots represented various alien civilizations, and Hayes could see that most of them were now marked as neutral or allied instead of hostile. Ladies and gentlemen, Morrison began, the war is over. The Zephyrian Empire has surrendered, and we've received peace overtures from dozens of other species. But this victory presents us with a new challenge. He gestured to the display. We are now the strongest military power in the galaxy. Every alien civilization either wants our protection or fears our retaliation. The question is, what do we do with this responsibility? Commander Amy Brooks raised her hand. Sir, shouldn't we focus on rebuilding what we lost? Mars Colony, the outer settlements? Of course. But we also need to think about the bigger picture. Do we become galactic police? Do we use our power to enforce peace? Or do we step back and let other species handle their own problems? Captain Hayes stood up. Admiral, with respect, I think we need to be very careful about how we use this power. The Leviathan was built to defend humanity, not to conquer the galaxy. I agree, Captain. But other species are already asking for our help. The Altarians are being invaded by the Vegan Collective. The Centauri Republic is facing a civil war. They want us to intervene. Dr. Grant spoke up. What if we offered them the quantum technology instead? Teach them to defend themselves? That's dangerous, Doctor. In the wrong hands, quantum-locked technology could be used to destroy entire star systems. Hayes felt a chill run down his spine. Admiral, are you saying we're the only ones who can be trusted with this power? Morrison was quiet for a moment. I'm saying we have a responsibility to use it wisely. The galaxy is looking to us for leadership, whether we want it or not. The meeting continued for hours, with no easy answers. Some wanted to use humanity's new power to create a galactic empire. Others wanted to share the technology with allied species. Still others wanted to withdraw from galactic politics entirely. Finally, Hayes spoke up. What if we created a new organization? Not a human empire, but a galactic peacekeeping force? We provide the quantum-locked ships, but other species provide the crews and leadership. A galactic defense force, Morrison said thoughtfully, with humans as the technical advisors, not the rulers. Exactly. We use our power to protect others, not to control them. The idea was met with approval from most of the staff. It would allow humanity to use their quantum technology responsibly while avoiding the temptation to become galactic conquerors. 6 months later, the first Galactic Defense Force fleet was launched. 12 quantum-locked ships, each crewed by members of different species, patrolled the galaxy to prevent wars and protect peaceful civilizations. Captain Hayes stood on the bridge of the Leviathan, now the flagship of the new fleet. His crew was different now, with humans working alongside former Zephyrian officers and scientists from a dozen other species. It wasn't always easy, but it was working. Captain, said Commander Velkin, the former Zephyrian officer who now served as his second-in-command, we're receiving a distress call from the Rigel system. Pirates are attacking a civilian transport. Hayes smiled. This was the kind of mission the Galactic Defense Force was meant for. Kate, plot a course for Rigel. Let's go save some lives. Kate Sullivan, now promoted to commander, opened her eyes and smiled. Quantum jump in 3 seconds, Captain. The Leviathan flickered and vanished, reappearing instantly in the Rigel system. The pirate ships scattered when they saw the quantum-locked vessel, abandoning their attack on the helpless transport. "This is Captain Hayes of the GDF Leviathan," he broadcast. "The civilians are under our protection. Leave now, and we won't pursue you." The pirates didn't need to be told twice. They jumped to hyperspace, leaving the transport safe and unharmed Dot as they escorted the civilian ship to safety. Hayes reflected on how much had changed. The galaxy was still dangerous, still full of conflicts and struggles. But now there was hope. Species that had been enemies for centuries were learning to work together. The quantum technology that had once been a weapon of war was now a tool for peace. Dr. Grant had been right about one thing. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their refusal to give up, their determination to protect others, and their belief that even the worst enemies could become friends. The Leviathan continued its patrol, a guardian angel made of starlight and quantum fields. Behind it, the galaxy was slowly becoming a better place, one rescued ship and one prevented war at a time. Admiral Morrison had retired to Earth, where he spent his time writing memoirs and tending a small garden. In his final report, he had written, "We built a weapon that could have conquered the galaxy. Instead, we chose to save it. That choice, more than any technology, is what makes us human." The war was over. The peace was just beginning. And somewhere in the depths of space, the USS Leviathan kept watch, making sure that the darkness never returned to claim the light.